Yo, what's up, world? It's Patrick Lovell coming at you on October 18th, 2022, at 10:55 a.m. And the headlines of the New York Times this morning says it all. In fact, let's see what it says. It says, voters see democracy in peril, but saving it isn't a priority. I read that, and then something popped up on my some sort of algorithmic feed right at the same time as I had planned this. It said Kanye is giving White Lives Matter T-shirts to homeless people. It all seems like, and this is on top of one of the senatorial debates last night that I happened to watch, um, where the lies and the sort of disinformation, misinformation was so thick about really everything, and then some of the audience was eating it up. That I thought to myself, this is something like Monty Python. Honestly, if I if I could design voter booths, as opposed to having like a you know you know what is it called? It's like I don't know, some sort of congressional, excuse me, national no moratorium on the Voting Act and that sort of thing. I would design literally a kind of a questionnaire so that when all voters go to the booth, that they'd have to answer just the basic questions of citizenship. And I'd probably throw a few pictures on there, like Kanye or Trump, and just to kind of confuse the situation. And if they couldn't answer just the basic citizenship test, I'd have just like this hydraulic eject button that would launch these guys, people who couldn't understand just the basics of what it means to be an American and what democracy is, to the moon. And then I'd film it and I'd throw it on YouTube, and we'd all have a really good laugh. But this isn't funny. I mean, this is worms rotting the carcass of a dead empire, is what it is. It's so pathetic and enraging. It's incredible, but it makes all the sense in the world. The dumber you are, the less likely you have a shot to understand 1/10 of 1% of what I've been telling you. And so I'm reaching out to patriots who have an education, who understand what the United States was birthed to do, which was to rid itself of tyranny. Only in 2022, literally be on its knees, handing power right back to tyranny. The amount of theft from our financial system, who has no checks and balances because it's outside of the corridor of supposedly the separation of powers, is insanity. Over the course of the last 10 years, quantitative easing has bought back toxic assets made up of the bones and crushed souls of the American people that have been demolished, destroyed by this machine of insane deception. To do what? To fuel the richest amongst us. That is not capitalism. That is not supply and demand. That is not a thriving marketplace where those with the best ideas, that are the strongest, the best to get to market, win. That's not what this is. I saw literally these two senator candidates talking about Washington's out of control spending while their states are huge recipients of federal largesse that goes into the coffers of corrupt state senators and Republicans and and Democrats and the whole network of the system, to sit on the sidelines to basically make money for the states that wasn't going to its intended purposes. And as a result, you get more and more and more suffering. And the question I keep asking myself is, why do you want to endure suffering? Because of stupidity. But I don't even care about that anymore, because I know there's enough patriots out there and enough people who actually have a brain, who understand how this thing works, that are going to rally around me and everything that we're doing, and we're going to deliver a right Mike Tyson uppercut that is truth and justice to knock this corruption out. But we're going to do it peacefully. And we're going to do it starting on 11/1/22 at the Federal Reserve. And get a load of this, all of you thousands and thousands of people that have chimed in on these truth bombs for the last several months, letting us know that, oh, if you didn't have to go before the midterms, and that you thought you were being set up in some sort of like, I don't know, trap, which always makes me laugh when people think I'm an FBI agent. That just is incredible. I would love to work for the FBI. Interestingly enough, I keep getting job offers, at least in my email box. I don't know if it's spam because I've never followed up on it, from both the FBI and Goldman Sachs and a lot of other financial institutions. It's amazing. They're like, well, why would you fight us, dude? Just come and join us. And I'll tell you why I won't do that. Because I'm all in on liberty and justice for all, which is what patriots would do, because tyranny is antithetical to everything that we are supposed to be. So here's the situation. We are, in addition to marching on the Capitol, not marching on the Capitol, sorry, marching on where the real power is, the Federal Reserve. And it's going to be amazing. There's a lot of people who have already committed to being there, and we've got permits. And like I've said before, this isn't the insurrection. This is the resurrection of the American dream. But for those of you who can't make it, who say you'd be there or otherwise you're all in on everything that I say, and many of you want to question what I'm doing, I've got an idea. In fact, I've got a choice. We're going to create an online rally. All you have to do is click a button to join, and I will lay out the most incredible minds and revelations that this country has ever heard or seen in our lifetimes. The entirety of media, and I'm talking about the New York Times, the Washington Post, all of the other major newspapers around the country, and of course our government, has hid this truth from you, even the ones who pretend like they are against corruption. They have hid this for the last 13 years, and enough is enough. We have to rise like the phoenix. We are this generation's answer to tyranny. Liberty and justice for all, and integrity, and the truth has to matter more than the sea of lies and the stupidity that buys them. I am not Alex Jones. I am the antithesis of Alex Jones. And the bottom line is, we got to save this country, man. And you want to know who's going to be on the front lines of this? Is it going to be a bunch of rabble-rousers, a bunch of guys that went and got tiki choices at Costco that came out of prisons or the military around the country and got flown there by billionaires? No. No, man. It's going to be the most vulnerable African Americans who live in the Baltimore, D.C. area that have all gone through the meat grinder of this housing collapse. Same with people from all over the country. And we've networked with experts from the Federal Reserve and a movement called Occupy the Fed, as well as others that are part of Occupy Wall Street and others. Look, man, the jig is up. We've got the answers. I've got the answers. All of it is in www.thecon.tv. If 70 million people understood what we show you, the jig would be up. We turn the table upside down like in a nanosecond. Have you ever seen that meme where it's just like you got a bunch of fat pigs that are basically the oligarchy sitting on millions of people that are their servants? All you have to do is turn the fucking thing upside down. And again, you've got to understand where I'm coming from above all else. I am not I am not a communist. I'm not a socialist. I am a competitor who does believe in democratic socialism in times of pinches, because I understand monetary policy and I understand what has to happen to get a vibrant, working, dynamic country working to where value actually happens in the marketplace instead of rich people skimming off of a fraudulent, Federal Reserve, a corrupt Federal Reserve. Look, man, and by the way, all of this stuff with identity politics really pisses me off. I'm all about, like I've said a million times, life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness for everyone, which only stands if you have the integrity of law. That's blind, like blind justice. You know what I mean? So I'll give you an example of what just happened in the real world yesterday, and how it correlates to something that I happened to see in a fictional depiction. And of course, a lot of these fictional depictions happen all the time these days because some of the writers on these big shows are some of the best minds in our society. But one of the Federal Reserve FOMC members of Atlanta, an African American, just got busted for insider trading. This is the fourth, Federal Reserve FOMC member that's been involved with insider trading over the last year. There was Robert Kaplan in Dallas. There was another guy up in Boston, Jerome Powell, who is the chair of the Federal Reserve, who the entire world is hinging on because the entire investor class have become speculators, hinging and binging on the Federal Reserve's word and what they're going to do next. And by the way, the whole reason we're in DC on 11/1/22 is because 1 + 1 = 2. It's that simple. It's not rocket science, it's racketeering. But also, it's the 10-year anniversary of the Fed's quantitative easing that just is a Ponzi scheme for the rich, using the bones and the suffering of Americans that destroyed the middle class. Okay? And Jerome Powell, of all people, was involved with insider trading about 2 years ago. Not to mention his the apparatus that manages his account is none other than BlackRock, who I continue to tell you rules the world. But who voted for them? Where did you see them on the ballot? It's time to wise up, America. Quit being the United Suckers of America. It's time to rise as a unified voice that is liberty and justice for all, that is unified and willing to go the distance to purge corruption. It's the only way to do this. It's the whole parable of the scorpion and the frog. It's the whole parable of any sort of parasite that you can possibly think of. The financial system is the parasite of the real economy. And because of these inside games and because of what happens with Fed policy, which was illegal under Federal Reserve Act 13.3, which pumped trillions of dollars to a bankrupt system that was bankrupt because of financial fraud. And we're going to do it both at the Federal Reserve, the patriots that are going to show up, make their voices heard, and we're going to chant the con at the Federal Reserve. And then I'm going to integrate all of the best minds and the whistleblowers and the people that play different roles in this situation in an online rally that all you have to do is press click and check in. Guys, you're not going to hear this from the New York Times, MSNBC, Fox, CNN, the Washington Post. No one. You're going to hear it from Patrick Lovell, who's gone the distance on behalf of liberty and justice for all and the integrity of law. Onwards and upwards.